Hi. So now let us see one of the very important concept in SQL, that is aggregate functions. So these have many applications in SQL actually. In many places we are going to use it actually. So let us try to understand first of all at the basic level, what is this aggregate functions, what are all we have, and for what purpose we can use them. Okay. So it is very simple first of all that what aggregate functions will do commonly. So these aggregate functions, very importantly, set of values as input. So you are going to have a set of values as an input we will give. Always, very importantly, always only one value you will get as a output. That is what the one important thing must you understand from the aggregate functions. You may give the set of inputs more than one input you can give. That too as a set actually. So set of values we are giving as an input, but over that it is doing some calculation based on the function, and any aggregate function finally giving only one value as a output. So that is the very first thing we must understand. So that working style of aggregate functions. Then these aggregate functions often we use actually in group by clause, having clauses actually. Some meaningful purpose is there actually for these three especially. So in select clause we will use, in group by clause we will use, in having clause we will use. But we will not use these aggregate functions in the where clause. So those things we will deep dive actually when you see these corresponding concepts actually. So in the group by, for what purpose we will use aggregate functions. The main purpose of the aggregate functions is actually, you can see real application in these two only actually. So that we will see explore more at that time. So that is one thing. Now what are all aggregate functions first of all? So let us see in simple manner what we have actually. So the first one is sum. So you see, these are not big things actually. As name implies, we can understand in very simple manner. So sum is actually calculate sum of values. We are giving set of values, right? So it will simply sum all the values in that set. And average. So you can guess what it is doing actually. So calculates the average of set of values. Always what set we are giving upon that set, it is doing something actually. Here sum, here it is average, and then min. Min means what actually it is finding the minimum value from this set actually. Same way max. It is going to get the maximum value out of all these set of values, and then count actually. So it is simply counting the number of rows in a table specified actually. So this is somewhat extra explanation is required, but time being let it be, we will see this separately. And very importantly, we have to understand from this actually, basing on the meaning of these aggregate functions. If you consider these two, sum and average, you can apply always on the numbers only. Because we have many different, many data types, right? Is it possible to apply on any data type? That is not possible, right? Summing. So you cannot sum A plus B, right? If it is a character type, you cannot sum them, right? If they are numbers, then only you can sum them or you can average them. So that is the reason these two aggregate functions always working on the numbers. Okay. And then especially min and max. These two, see, in the numbers, you can find out minimum value, maximum value. And at the same time, if you have a text also, so that means text means, for example, if I have ABC, XYZ, PQR. So in this min means alphabetically minimum. That is what A. This is going to become min. Alphabetically max. This is what the max. So that is why even it will work on the text also. Not only on the text, it will work on the date also. So in the dates also you can work it actually. Okay. So this is what actually min and max. Min and max is working on numbers, text, date. And count function is going to work on anything. Okay. So this is what, first of all, very first thing we have to understand from the aggregate functions. Then if you see, all aggregate functions above are going to ignore null values. So because actually as a parameter we are passing here one attribute, actually some attribute we will give from the table, one of the attribute we will pass. Then in that attribute, that means under that column, if we have any null values, it is going to ignore them. So especially that, but except count. That is why I told count we are going to handle separately. We will discuss that separately actually. Okay. Now to get the more clarity on these aggregate functions, what we are doing is we are going to take one sample relation, one sample table, that is what student, and here are their roll numbers, their names, their marks we have actually. So now let us see what aggregate functions will do on this table actually. So first of all, let us see the sum function. So how you will write the query, you can see here. Select sum of marks. As we told, we will pass one attribute. Okay. So that means the set of values is nothing but what actually? So set of values are going to become these are. So that means here we are passing 80, 60, 90, 40, 70, 60. So these are set of values you are passing. That is what we given the definition, right? Aggregate functions, what we are giving, set of values as a input. So under this column, what are all values we have, those are we are passing actually. Then what it is doing, it is summing all these values because the function name is sum. So it is summing all the values, whatever you passed, and then it is giving single value. That is what we told, only one value. So sum of all these, what actually, that you can see in the output 400. So if you sum all these things, we are going to get 400. Okay. So try to understand that set of values is nothing but whatever attribute name we are passing here, under that attribute, what are all values you have, those are going to become set of values as an input for that particular function. Basing on the function name, it is going to do accordingly, it is working accordingly, finally returning only one value. That is what the definition of aggregate functions, right? Yeah. So that is the sum function. Very simply we can understand. And after that, if you see average actually. So even this we told what actually is. It is going to find the average of given input values. So here also that is what, if I write a query average of marks, then what is going to happen? First it is summing all these values, that is 400. And how many values are there? Total 6. So that is what the average, right? So you can see the output 66.66 is the average. Okay. So remembering the aggregate functions is not big deal actually, because these are the regular things in general. In general also we will use. Okay. Only thing is how to use them, where to use them, how to not to use them. This kind of constraints, if you know, then you can play with the aggregate functions. Okay. And then next the minimum. So as usually we are going to find the minimum value out of all these under this marks column. So that is what the query you can see, min of marks. So in the under this attribute, whatever be the minimum that we are going to find, so the output is 40. So that because 40 is the minimum, right, out of all those values. So that is one thing. And then max. So in the max also same thing, query, we are going to find the maximum marks from the this set of values, then maximum is 90. So hope this aggregate functions usage is very simple. See, sometimes actually instead of this sum of marks, we can do some other things also. So what we are doing is here sum of, we already seen another keyword distinct. Okay. So here you can apply distinct. So distinct of marks, if you apply, what is going to happen? Remaining query is same, select the sum of distinct of marks. Then now what is happening here is, it is not allowing the duplicate values. So you can see, is there any duplicate value? Yes, 62 times is there. but it is going to consider one time. So then what is happening actually? 80 plus 60 plus 90 plus 40 plus 70 only. This 60 it is not considered. So that means out of 400 minus 60, if you remove, you are going to get 360 only, 340 only. This is very, very important. So if you apply distinct on that column, what is going to happen? First, it is selecting all the values and eliminating the duplicates. That set you are passing to the sum. That is what simple understanding. So then that in the remaining set, how many values you have, that summation it is finding. So we are getting 340. So same way here also you can apply actually. That is what average of distinct of marks. Then what is going to happen? So of course the result is same. Distinct of marks result is same. You will get this much. So 340 by now how many values? 5 values only. So how much we will get actually? So here also I think this is 60.8 something, right? Yeah, I think this is 68.0. So we are going to get 68 as an average actually. So this is what actually. So but here we cannot apply distinct. Even if you apply distinct also, min and max are not going to change. Because if duplicates are there, duplicates we are removing, but still that minimum value will exist, right? So even if you apply in this also, you can write down in min and max also distinct, but results are not going to change. But in case of the average and sum, results are going to change if you apply distinct on that particular column actually. Okay, so this is what, first of all, out of 5 aggregate functions, 4 aggregate functions, sum, average, min, and max. So the next one is count aggregate function. We are going to see separately, that is in the next lecture.